So let's go take a tour of AudioNote UK. This is going to be a real treat. Here we go. Okay, so this part of the factory is where we do the main fabrication of the product. So the boards are pre-made, the transformer's already fitted, and here we do the assembling and wiring. This is one of our bigger chassis. This is an Ankaroo, which is the Mono 211. So this is one side of the pair of Ankaroos. So you can see here the chassis is upside down. The output transformer's already been assembled. What have we got in the back there? The main capacitors are in, okay, and we're just putting in the regulation supply, yeah? Good. And what do we have here? So this one here we have this is a M9 phono signature. So this is a 2-box, the power supply and the control unit. So again, this is just the smaller PCBs being wired up. You do beautiful work.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really good. Hand soldered by an expert. And how about over here? What do we have? So here we've got Chris. He's wiring up, hand wiring some of the 300B boards. Okay, so these are the type of boards that would go in the Conqueror, things like that, the 300B power amps. So all hand wired, silver soldered. Look at that, another expert. Look at that, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's watch one more solder there. Chris is going to trim there. Look at that, perfect. Snip it off. Look at that. And she created a little loop. And see, that's going to fit right over the top pen, and then he's going to grip it and twist it in. And this is the proper way to solder. This is actually handmade. The wires are bent to the proper shape to come around the structure of the subboard that's underneath the red board that we're looking at. And then once he gets that into position, he'll drop a bit of solder on top of it, and that'll finish that off. He's not quite there yet. Look at that. So the time to do this, if you're watching, viewers, is we're 2 minutes into this, and this is one wire that's going to go in here. So 2 minutes or plus to do one wire. So times that by how many wires are in an AudioNote component, and you begin to get the scope and the idea of what goes in. Here we go. He's going to solder this. Here we go. Right on there it is. Wow, then he's going to bend the other one around. Right on top, that's a capacitor there. And here we go. And it's done. Thank you very much, Chris.
You're welcome.
Hey Andy, what do we have over here?
So here we've got a main production line for the My Shoes. So there's My Shoe lines, My Shoe line silvers, My Shoe line silver signatures. So the My Shoe is one of our basic, good running 300B integrated amplifiers.
There's lots of signs across the AudioNote factory. Some of them mean business and some of them are kind of for fun.
Yeah, that's part of Richard. He used to be a graphic designer, was it Richard, I think? He used to do some work. So he's got some sort of graphics background. So
Graphic bent.
Lots of drawings and lots of pictures.
Yep. And you've heard of rosin in the bow. Well, this is rosin for solder. And this is, I'm sure, silver solder.
Let's do it in a silver solder.
There you go. Look at that.
It's using all our hand solder product.
And here's an expert at work.
Well,
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful work. They really are pieces of art. Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
And down here, what do we have, Andy?
So this is a Paladin, which is the integrated 45 amplifier. So this is the two 45s. It's about 1.5, 2 watts per channel.
Okay.
Again, if you've got very high sensitivity speakers, the 45 tube is one of the best sounding tubes you can get.
I agree with you. Hi, how are you today?
I'm okay.
Good. I see you're wiring in the input transformer. Very cool.
I am indeed. I'm just working out the lengths of the heat shrink.
Yeah, double checking the lengths.
Yeah.
See, this is, again, the viewers, everything is hand done, so each wire has to be hand trimmed into the position where it's going to end up on the next component. So you see the beginning here, and then here's what it's going to end up looking like. So very good, thank you very much. Andy, what do we have here?
So what we got here, this is the M6 line signature power supply board. So as you can see, we've got the new AudioNote KSI caps, the 2-watt tantalum non-magnetic resistors, and the AudioNote valve bases. And again, if we turn it over, you can see it's all hand wired with solid silver and the AudioNote silver wire.
Look at that.
Solder, sorry.
And again, we saw how this is done, and this is bent a certain way,
yes.
and then bent again, and then bent again, and then bent again, and then finally soldered into place.
Most time consuming, but really the best for the ultimate sound.
And Andy, what do we have here?
Okay, Peter, so this is an M8 line signature here. So you can see on this one again, we have the AudioNote KSI capacitors. We've got the Blackgate capacitors, the AudioNote copper capacitors, and these are on the Pomelli wooden board. Again, solid silver wire, hand soldered.
And you can see each board is a work of art. And this is actual real wood?
Yes, these are real wood board. Again, you know, the sound of the board affects the sound of the product, the finished product. And we go to great lengths to listen to the actual boards as well.
Fantastic. And viewers, we're over at the transformer dipping machine, and we'll talk a little bit about that, Andy. Lead us through what the process is here.
Okay, so what we found in terms of the R&D and research and development is that wax impregnating certain output transformers or chokes enhances the sound quality. And again, it's one of those things, you can do some finer measurements on it, but sonically when you listen to it, you get quite a difference in the sound. So what you'll find here, for example, is on this Trans 185, you can just see where it's been dipped in the wax machine. And the type of wax, we went through quite a lengthy process of listening to the different microstructures of the wax.
Really?
Yeah, so again, that all affects the sound performance. So you'll find some of the output transformers are waxed, and some of the C-core chokes we actually wax in the dipping machine here. So they take about 5 hours. We put them in, we put the machine on overnight, and we have a certain type of grade of wax that obviously sounds the best. Soak them in there for 5 hours overnight, and then they're ready to go the next day.
And viewers, difference here, this is a C-core, because it's shaped like a C. This is laminated, because you can see that these are laminations all stacked together. This is a choke, because you don't have any secondary wirings coming off. And Andy, I see after they come out of the dipping machines, I see a whole bunch of inventory here. What do we have? And tell us about the transformers and different qualities.
Okay, so again, on the mains transformer front, we have a number of different mains transformers. These are super high B, so depending on the level of the product, the higher quality of the core material. So for example, like an Ongaku will have a much higher level mains transformer core material. So people might just think, oh, it's just the components, or it's just the capacitors or the resistors. It goes right back to the mains transformer level. So as soon as the mains comes into the product, we get a better quality transformer. So you'll see here again, we've got a vast number of mains transformers, super high B cores, ultra high B mains transformers, many different permutations to fit in with the level system that we supply.
And viewers, just to reiterate, the transformer and valve audio component and a most audio component is part of the power supply. These are the most key components, one of the most key components to the sound of an amplifier, in my opinion. It's the heart of the amplifier, is a transformer.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, the almost like the mains coming into the product, and then the output transformer, which again is what we control very stringently with the quality and the design and the type of core material at both ends of that chain. So as soon as the mains comes in, and what comes out the other side, crucially important.
Good, I see more along the wall here. Let's walk down the
yes,
yeah, it's really the scope of the operation here. I don't know if the viewers can get it. You really have to, we'll get the camera around the whole factory, but this is enormous. When I was on the factory tour 6 years ago, it was at least 2/3 smaller.
Yeah, again, you know, the demand for the product's been very good. Again, if you look at these ones, you can see these have the magnetic copper cores on. So again, in terms of the quality of the product, the C-core transformer, these are the Gaku on.
Yeah, you can see. Yep. I'm going to pick it up, and that is a substantial component.
It's a work of art in its own right. If you look
at
the quality of the windings, the copper, and then the dipping. AudioNote designs all their transformers in-house, and we wind all our transformers in-house. So we've got a rough machine here, which is a German machine, and we just bought 2 new winding machines here this year. So that's 3 machines here, and we've got 2 smaller winding machines for winding the smaller bobbins and chokes. So we're just about up to capacity. We still have trouble keeping up with demand at the moment, but we're looking to increase on the transformer side.
So viewers, you can see, for a winding machine, you have to have the wire up in a spool. These tension, the wire, these are very expensive if I'm not mistaken.
These are, I think
Yeah.
these are the new electronic tensioners, and again these are quite a substantial investment. This is the silver wire here, and they've been winding some of the smaller, you can see the silver bobbins here.
Yeah,
This
look
is
at
all
that.
pure silver wire.
How about that? And here's actually where the application works. This will spin, correct?
Yes.
And then the wires come down, and the operator
For the
here,
bobbin, yep.
just, yeah, the bobbin will go back and forth,
Yeah, program this.
and then
is the
it's
silver
programming
wire.
in. Got
Yeah.
it. And then same thing over here.
Yeah, it's another machine setup. Again, some of the transformers, you know, we do the bifilar, the 2 layers, the 3 layers, different size wires, different number of turns.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and look, we have one actually getting started here. Cool. Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Good, good. Let's watch. Here's the beginning. It's the birth of a transformer.
No secrets to be let out into the
No,
world.
we're,
Okay, and this is computer operated here, viewers. And here it goes. So you can see that the mechanism is actually on a motor. It's moving along. Probably a cog under there, pulling it back and forth. And look at that, perfect. There you go. Thank you very much.
and let me introduce you to our lead designer, Andy Grove.
Hey Andy, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Andy, you've been with Audio Note for quite some time now.
I've known Peter for roughly 26 years now, 25, 26 years.
Most of what we hear in Audio Note equipment comes from your brain and your genius.
Well, at least some of it does.
Yeah.
I'm the one who does a lot of the electronic design and the research into materials technology, which is the kind of the physics of the basics of it.
I see.
I'm sort of using some of the equipment like this. As you can see, we're making an experiment on a transformer here. Just some measurements, there's an FFT of it. This is the kind of thing, this is an audio precision APX 555 with all the options. It's about as good as you can. Well, it
Yeah,
is
that's the top of the market, I think.
absolute top of the market. There's nothing else which comes anywhere near to it in performance. Even the Rodan Schartz is just not as. It's good, but not the same. So you know, we do some a lot of measurements. Everything's validated by measurement to make sure it works. I mean, it's something is down to, or some part of that is down to interpretation, of course, of what the measurement means, because we're not looking for pure necessarily and absolutely. For example, here, you know, the second, third harmonics here. Maybe if you were designing a transistor amp, you want to see them down here, but this is just a straight transformer. And you can see some of the harmonics, and what we're looking for this one is so that we can identify the core material from these harmonics and then use that in the QC department, in the test department, so we can verify that we've got the right core material in the transformer when it comes to final test. But it's also used a lot for research, whatever it is we might be working on, because you can see the difference between this core material, which is silicon steel, or we may have this stuff, which is our really high-end thing, which is 55% nickel iron, which is very, very much more expensive. And this material, this is a general purpose, if you like, it's the highest form of it, though, silicon steel, which we get from the Far East.
Okay.
Nobody in the US or Europe makes this to the specifications, only the Japanese and Koreans do. But this material is an audio-specific development which we made at Audio Note. So it's a 55% nickel iron, which is actually made in Germany, but then it's processed in Turkey according to a heat treatment which we iterated with the Turkish factory in order to make an audio-specific core material.
How about that?
Yeah. So, for example, you know, if we were to measure the distance between these two, you would see some difference here on there, which it makes it identifiable, but that doesn't always correlate to the difference in sound, in texture or colour or whatever you might hear when it's used in the transformer. But at least we can try to sort of get some kind of understanding of what's happening. You can see between the distortion or whatever it might be, hysteresis loop or something. But yeah, I mean everything.
This is it. Yeah, everything is done here, and you have an office across the way that has, I saw, 2 big, large monitors. You do a lot of design work over
I
there.
do model, because I do a lot of other things other than just designing. I'm sort of general technical dog's body as well. Any questions that come if they're too difficult to answer. I can operate this via remote desktop down in my office. I can plug in here and then sit in my office and
Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, yeah.
just sit there and take measurements. Everybody see I'm staring at the monitor.
What's that guy doing over there?
Looking at the internet. Well, I'm not actually. Usually, quite often, looking at something like this over there. I can just drive the audio precision from the other side of the building.
How about that?
So yeah, in the office it will be. I use Spice modelling for all kinds of things. Depending on what we're looking at. Sometimes we're working on DA converters, or it could be a power supply or anything, or even some valve models I make up. And model that. And there's also a lot of research done just to find, for example, if you want a core material or something from somewhere, which in Japan, there's a lot of communication going back and forth, trawling the internet, reading data sheets, and that all happens in there in the office. When it comes to building, it's dark. I myself are in here making experiments, and it's a bit of a mess sometimes.
It's quite an operation here. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can see these new kind of products.
we've looked at. We had a camera took a look at these just a moment ago. Yeah.
But this one, this is not really formed. It's a pure concept at the moment. It may drastically change over time, but this is a kind of a mock-up of what we're looking at. It's quite a good mock-up because it's in 2 parts, which is how this will be built. The power supply will be in the bottom. And then the amps unit will be on the top. I mean, this is to represent the grill. You can see the parts inside, but we're not really anywhere near completing that. It's going to be called the Ultra 212 alpha valve and the 205D probably as in and out. And basically we'll just do every single thing we can possibly think of to it within reason. I mean, you can go on forever and build an amplifier the size of a warehouse if you wanted, but this has got to go in somebody's listening room. But it's essentially based on the Gaku on Gaku, that kind of series of amplifiers, the transformer coupling. But we just go all the way with the power supply and everything like that. It might end up bigger, smaller.
How cool is that, viewers? Yeah.
I mean, this one is a little bit different. I mean, you can. So if I just go back and see some of the rendering there. It's here we've got marble and copper, and maybe that would be titanium or something, whatever it might be. This one. This is actually a mock-up of a real thing. We have orders for this, and there's you can see the rendering here, what it's going to really look like. The plans that we're discussing, Simon. And a long-standing friend of mine, Simon Langham, he was one of the guys. I don't know if you know these funky vacuum cleaners from Dyson. Well, he designed all those. He worked with Quad and Wharfdale with me 20 years ago, and we've got back together again to work on these 2 products.
Oh, so you guys collaborated on that?
Simon's pretty switched on. But what we're working on here is this one's going to be called the Legend, and like I said, we already have orders for this. We're taking a commission, but the concept of this unit is to have to use some of these NOS valves which are rare. For example, this one is for the DA100, which is an old British tube, but it could be also for 845s which aren't made anymore, or NOS with RCA 845, or whatever the customer wants, for 300Bs, anything. It's for customers of a private collection of
a lot of them do.
So that means that we can then configure it just to make a small batch. It could be 10, 20 pieces, 1, 2, whatever, even 1. And the way it works, you can take these sort of cardboard, imagine these are where the transformers would go. Inside, it's fully modular, so this plate can be moved to here, this one can be moved to there, we can turn it round, they can take this plate out in, redesign everything. Essentially, but based on a common or several common power supplies, one which gives us about 1,200 volts maybe, another one maybe 400, another one 300 for 2A3, so one 450, 500 for 300B, PX25, that kind of thing. And then an even bigger one, which maybe we'll use for the 212, maybe 1500, 1600, 2000 volts, so that, or, you know, maybe more.
That's a huge number. That's a heart stopper.
Yeah, so it would be, so there'd be 3 different sizes of this chassis. This one is for the 100 watt kind of class valves, DA100, 211, those sort of things. There'll be a smaller one which is for 300B and those types, 2A3, that sort of thing. And then one's going to be a bit bigger to take the 212. But it's, the idea of it is, like I said, is modularity, but it is going to have an extra level of finishing and fine tailoring, if you like.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so this on this one, for this customer, because the guy sponsors an Asian racing team, it's actually Bentley. So in order to give some kind of a nod to that for his special one, we're probably going to use some titanium here, and we're trying to get what's called a diamond-like carbon coating onto the titanium, which gives this kind of black, very sophisticated look. I mean, it will look even better in the flesh. I've seen this. Yeah. Again, it's copper. The idea is that it looks like an audio piece.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it has that look.
It does.
Yeah.
This is a bit alien, isn't it?
Yeah, that does look a little odd. Yeah.
This is definitely an audio product. It looks like one, but it's just another level above. And rather than, we have taken commissions for, before, we did make a kind of a version of this, if you like, for a Greek customer, which I've just been to see. And we made a special one-off unit, but it was because it was specially made and the chassis was machined, it just went on and on and on to create the development for it. And if a customer wants, you know, 1 or 2 pieces and want to be able to sell these things or be able to turn it around quickly, then this is going to be better, because we'll have the basic parts will be in stock, and then it will just be a case of machining the front or the middle and then reconfigure.
Yeah, depending upon the tube he wants to use.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, obviously the transformers have to be custom wound. The outer transformer, or the mains transformer, will be custom made for the voltage, but generally it'll be within, you know, 400 volts, or, you know, a lot of them work on there, 350 volts, 1200. They're all, you know, within groups, so we don't have to do a complete redesign from the ground up every time somebody wants that. I've got 5 pieces of such and such. Well, we can make you an amp, and it would take, you know, let's say it would take 3 months or 4 months or something like that, rather than, you know, 18. So that's the idea with this. And like I said, it's called the Legend because it's going to work with all these legendary.
Legendary tubes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
some of them, you know, there are only a handful of them left in the world.
Yeah, that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, you designed the Gakko I have at my listening room, and it's the sound is it just draws you into the music, and that's what it's all about. And I think you're one of the top designers, if not the top designer in the world today, of vacuum tube amplifiers. So thank you very much. It's really, really good to meet you and have the viewers meet you. Andy Grove from Audio Note. What do we have in this room?
So this is the creative genius of R&D, hence the sort of mess and generalised sort of looking chaos. But I can assure you that this is the sort of the sharp end of where it happens. So here we've got some final development on the TT3 power supply unit. We're launching a new TT3 later this year, and this is the final sign off on the board. So you can have a look here at the complexity of the design on the R&D side.
What are we doing here?
There's an option there for 3 different types of design. So this is primarily switching between 3 different designs for listening tests. So again, earlier we were talking about the measurement side of things and the listening side of things. So here we'll set up 3 different options, we'll measure it, and then we'll listen to it. We have a PCB cutting machine here, so any designs that become here can come straight off of the R&D lab straight onto here, so we can make up a board within an afternoon, so we can turn it straight into a pre-production prototype.
Now, is that programmed in the shape of the board via computer?
Yeah.
Anything you want you can program on there. And again, that can cut the board, or it can cut the wooden board like we've done before, we've seen here. So for example, we had a situation where we were looking at doing a power supply. So this is the wooden board here is cut, and we've loaded this one up with the Blackgate capacitors. Okay. So this can be done very quickly, which is the advantage of this type of machine. You haven't got to send stuff out and wait 2 or 3 weeks.
Understood.
For stuff to be done.
And what do we have here? There we go. A little bit of music going.
A little bit of music. So here we've got, this is an M6, some development work being done on the M6 and the output transformers. And this is a pair of Quests with the output transformers. Again, we're looking at doing some work on the output transformer. So what we tend to do is we tend to put stuff on and let it soak for at least 1 to 2 weeks before the circuit settles down, before you can make any real subjective decisions. You can't just build something and listen to it straight away. So
I love that.
This takes some burn-in period. It's quite well known. This one we have a Paladin silver signature. Again, we've done some modifications for a customer. And on the end there you can see this is the new product, the CD5. So previously we only went up to an integrated CD4, and this is the CD5. So this is just in the final stages of being burnt in and soaked off for approval.
Yeah, I have a CDT5, and so now we're putting this is so it's all split. This is all in one box.
Yes.
And if this is going to sound anything near as good as what I have, viewers, you got to gobble these up, because I listen to as many CDs as I do LPs because of Audio Note. It's just the Red Book CD sounds magical. It really does.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, absolutely. All the products that have the voicing, as you say, and the detail is really exceptional.
Well, great. Thank you. Okay, and here is the turntable itself. Andy, tell us a little bit about it.
So this is the new entry-level TT3 turntable. So this one uses 3 smaller PAPS motors and the new power supply, so the power supply being one single box that Darko's just designed. So again, that starts off in the digital domain, switches over to analog because we found it sounds much better in the analog domain.
Here is the King Kong of output transformers. Now, this is for the new amplifier.
Yeah, this is the one, the prototype
Holy
we're
smokes.
looking at for the for this new Legend amplifier.
Okay.
And this particular one is quite interesting because it has 2 secondary windings which are separate from each other. One for the mids and highs and one for the bass.
How about that?
Yeah, and they're slightly differently disposed within the winding and in the whole winding as a whole. And for example, the high frequency is made out of many strands of thinner wire, and it's got different insulation on it, and then some big hefty wire, the gauge for the bass.
And this one is
This, for comparison, this is a 300, but it's about the same. It's the same kind of size as what's used in the GACA one, so you can see the difference. But this one's got a high B in there, so it's not actually a GACA one transformer, which has 50% nickel iron. We can see this, the big output transformer for the Legend. I mean, not all of them have this because it's variable to the customer. They're not all on that spec. But this one's got the big, huge 55.
that is huge.
There's loops in there, and that's only for one valve. So
Well, that's really the magic of the sound of a valve amplifier is the transformers, and the output transformer is key.
that's the core material, the winding and the materials used in there.
Yep. Very good. Well, that was a fascinating overview of the output transformers and the size of the new output transformer. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about resistors, okay?
Yeah, well, this is a completely new and unique resistor. These are made in Japan with our partner out there, which Peter and I have been working with for I don't know how many years, back and forth, and we've had many dinners and many discussions, and a lot of times them thinking that we're completely bonkers. These still one Danish guy and one English guy, they're coming to Japan and they're completely insane. But eventually we've got to this point, which is the Audio Note silver resistor. Now, I don't know if everybody knows, but inside this, what you see here, Inside there is a alumina or aluminium oxide, a sintered aluminium oxide core, which all of these kind of resistors have. And usually the coating on there might be carbon and some of the carbon film resistor, but usually it's nichrome, which is an alloy of nickel and chrome as it sounds, which has a low temperature coefficient. But this particular one, the coating is tantalum metal. It's a lot denser and a bit more expensive. It doesn't have quite as good electrical properties, maybe if you just look at it from that sense, but it has a unique sound quality. We probably will be making varieties with nichrome in there as well, but this one's tantalum, so it'll be nichrome, and we're now working on a niobium resistor as well, which is slightly different. Yeah, so we're looking at that as well. We've got some samples just came in. What's different about this particular specimen is inside there's an alumina rod, and on the end there are like two cups. Well, if you imagine this is a rod, there's a cup which is forced on, and it has to grip on to that vacuum deposited film, which is on top on the alumina rod.
So the cap itself is like a little bit wider in diameter.
Yeah,
right?
but you can see that's what's filling out at the end, because it's sort of it's forced on.
Yeah.
Well, usually the most common material used for that is steel, because you can imagine quite steel when it's punched in, formed into that shape. It's steel can be made springy. If you were to spend a bit more money then, like we do in our non-magnetic resistors, then that's brass, because again you can form brass and it will grab, it's got a spring to it that will grab on. What we wanted to do was use silver for that, which generally silver is either like chewing gum or it just breaks.
That's right.
Or it just stretches and just sort of tears apart. You can't make, or not until recently, you couldn't make a cup or an end cap as they're called, which would have enough spring to go on there, which could be formed into shape, and then we'd have enough spring to reliably hold on. And then this is the silver wire which is welded onto the silver, so there's no soldering, this is welded straight onto the silver, and then underneath there is the tantalum. But there was one of the UK universities, and there's a professor there, and they're working with an Italian foundry, have developed together with us a process in order so that we can make a silver which is heat treatable. And it has some secret alloying elements in there, which even they won't tell us exactly what, but we've worked with them to get it to work for our purpose, which can be formed and then has sufficient, after it's been hardened, it has sufficient springiness to reliably hold on. And in order to get to this point, we had to order many tens of kilos of this raw silver. Then it was processed in Italy, drawn out, and first of all we were making it in plates and sending it out to a batch process, sending it to Japan. So it was out, and the Japanese customs were opening boxes declared of 50 kilos of silver alloy. And then they would try it, and then it would fail. It would make some resistors, and they sounded good, and then they would fail. Start tearing, or it wouldn't have enough spring. I had to ship it all the way back to here, and then down to Italy again, and then it would be reprocessed. And eventually, we managed to, after many years of doing this, it cost an absolute fortune in terms of the silver and the wastage. And but we've got the process working now, so we can reliably make these. I mean, it's still a fairly high rejection rate, which for the caps. But now we've got this special unique resistor, silver wire, a silver end cap, and it's welded, not soldered, and then the tantalum film. And sometime we'll probably make a niobium one of these as well, and maybe a nichrome, I don't know. The niobium's pretty good. But there you go, the Audionaut silver resistor, which is the culmination of many years of work between Peter, myself, and the Japanese engineers.
Well, that's very cool, and that's what adds to the magic of the sound of an audio component, and it surely adds to the price of an audio component. Yeah, it sure does. Well, thank you very much, Andy.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's go up the stairs to the parts and components department. Now, this seems to be a secure unit up here. We have a lock on the door. Andy, tell us about what we have up here.
Oh, hi there, Peter. Okay, again, this is the component storeroom and stock room. So up here we've got a vast amount of investment in terms of the capacitors, the resistors. So
hence the lock on the door.
Hence the lock on the door, yeah. Again, there's a serious amount of investment here. But again, we've got the semiconductors, the resistors, the carbon resistors, the Beischlag resistors. And if you come around to this side...
Oh my gosh, this is just amazing.
We have here some of the stocks for the picking for the kits. So again, we get the kit
we pick the components. So we've got the KSI capacitors, some of the blackgate capacitors that we still have in stock here. And then on the left we have, you can see the array of the new silver resistor, the 2-watt non-magnetic silver resistor.
Here they are. Here's a close-up. Yeah, let's pick one of these up here. Yeah, there you go. Wow, look at them all. My goodness gosh. And what's in here?
So this is some of the cables. We keep the Palace, which is the digital cable, which is the palladium coated silver cables. So you can see we've got the black Palace used as a digital cable, the brown Palace, which is the interconnect cables, and the white Palace, which goes as a digital or analog cable on the S8. We hide wire on the S8, and a couple of reels of silver solder.
I was just going to say, well, let's see, does this fit? Get that in my pocket. No.
It's only something like $20 a foot or something like that. It's not too bad.
Okay. Let's go over here.
And then if you come around,
Let me go around this way here. And what
This way.
what do we have back here?
again, this is the capacitor stock, extensive investment on the capacitor stock, and the cables behind. So these are all capacitors, all KSI capacitors you can see there, Audio Note standard capacitors.
Wow, look at them all. I have to stoop down to get back in here, viewers.
And then just to the left you can just see we store a number of the larger copper and silver cables on the back there.
I see them back there, yeah.
The ISIS, the Sogon, again there's a vast number of cables.
This is just extraordinary, the inventory, the number of parts, the number of capacitors.
Again, it's a huge investment. The cables we get made in Europe, and again, you know, tooling up for just drawing the cable, minimum is 5 kilometers, you know, per cable.
My goodness.
Yeah, so again, it's a substantial investment.
My gosh. What would you estimate the inventory to be in euro up here? This looks like well over $1 million or more.
Yes, yeah, it's going to be well north of $1 million. Yes.
Well north of $1 million euro.
Yeah.
And this is again another part of the magic of Audio Note is the inventory and the quality of the components and the parts that go into.
Yeah, all the investment
Each
is in
one,
the stock
yep.
in
Yep.
terms of the component side. Not the finished goods, but in terms of the component stock, it's a phenomenal amount of stock holding.
Just amazing, viewers. And more wire back here. Oh my gosh, it just goes on and on and on. And more components over here. We have valve bases here, and this is what your tube fits in, and you solder the leads on the bottom into your component. And then more over here. Andy, what's over here? Gosh.
Again, these are some of the terminals. So
Oh my
again,
gosh,
you
look
know,
at
the
them all.
P-plugs, the GP plugs, the loudspeaker terminals for mounting onto the amplifier chassis.
This doesn't look like an audio factory. This looks like an audio manufacturing company. This
Again, they come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, vast quantities.
Yeah. And that's what separates the men from the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And more resistors.
This is just the scope of
These are
the
smaller
amount
voltage.
of the material.
Some 2-watt tanks, the blank PCBs, and the half-watt non-magnetic resistors.
My goodness gracious. I don't know of any specialty audio component manufacturer with this scope of inventory. I just don't know of any. And if anyone has it, they're not showing it. But this is just mind-boggling. Good. Well, thank you very much, Andy.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Okay, so this is Matt, and he makes up all the Audio Note cables. Okay,
Hey, Matt,
so
how you doing? Hello.
we do a good range of cables, the copper cables, the silver cables. This one is a copper Litz interconnect, the Lexus 50, so Matt's just going to strip this and tin it up.
Okay, Matt, knock yourself out.
Okay.
I've always wondered exactly the best way to do this.
What, cut the braid off?
Yeah, the braiding, yeah.
Yeah, it's sharp nippers work best.
You're going to trim it all the way down there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, got
Much
it.
off as you can, really.
Yeah. So these terminations take a while to do.
Yeah, for a cable, it's usually about 45 minutes for a stereo cable. Maybe a bit longer, depending on the connectors. This is the P plug, so this will be a bit longer than normal.
I see. And what's the P plug made out of? What's the material?
I'm not sure. I know it's silver plated.
It is. I can see
Yeah.
the silver plating on it.
Yeah.
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 Some alloy, I'm sure. Right.
Okay, that's perfect. Wow.
Yep. Over
Okay.
to the pot.
Okay. Over at the pot. I see.
Yep.
That's the way to tin it.
Yeah, well, it's got that Litz coating on it,
Yeah.
so you need to get that off. And getting that off with just the soldering iron, it's not very easy. But you can do it.
So that is Litz coated wire. And
Yeah.
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 How about that?
And then you've got the
I see. Okay.
so the remnants of it. So yeah, clean that up.
What is that?
IPA,
ISO.
propyl alcohol. Cleans it up. Cool.
Okay.
Some of these bits.
These are the heat shrinkers.
Yeah, it just gives the wire a bit more protection when it's in the connector.
Yeah, that's beautiful work.
Then
Look at that. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Okay.
so they're done. Then back over to the pot.
Okay.
Because we just trimmed them, there might be
That's right.
little bits of wire inside that didn't get properly coated, so a little quick dip.
Okay.
And then back. Now, connectors.
Okay, I see.
Okay. There we go.
Okay.
I'll just move that up there a second.
Okay. I'll show that to your viewers.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
So just to weigh it down so it doesn't move out the way.
Okay. And I used to think I was good at soldering.
Been doing it a while.
I'm sure. Turn making cables into a work of art.
There we go.
Okay.
Clean them up a bit.
So viewers, don't try this at home. Your work will never look this good.
Yeah.
Okay?
Get my white down.
And zip it on.
Yes.
Well, that is not a 1 minute job. That takes some time, viewers, as you can see.
There you go.
Voila. Thank you very much.
No
Great.
problem.
Great work. Great to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Andy, we have a lot of chassis here.
So again, this is work in progress because
Okay.
everything is built to order by hand.
Okay.
We don't carry any stock apart from the vast amount of component stock that you
You've
see.
got to be kidding me. So in other words, this is all bought.
This is all gone.
This
This
is
is
all
pre-sold.
bought.
Yes,
This is all
this
pre-sold.
gone. Yeah. So if you look at the type of product we got here, these are the M-Line Signature. So this is the 2-box preamp, which
Got
is
it.
basically the scaled down version of the M10 line Signature.
Mm-hmm.
The same sort of circuit topology, but just on a slightly lower level,
Mm-hmm.
but still gives an unbelievable sound quality. Okay, so we've got a nice array of M6 line signatures going through. These are some of the M10 signatures. We've got a couple of M10 signatures going through, as you can see. So again, if you look at the output transformers, the quality of the output transformers.
Yeah, we know this
You've
product
seen
very
the
well.
transformer winding,
We've seen
okay.
the transformer winding.
You've seen the
Yeah.
transformer winding,
Yep.
the military spec connectors on the back, you know,
Yeah.
the little output cores.
And again, viewers, these are all sold.
Yes, these are all
Yeah.
spoken for.
All spoken for,
These
yeah.
are all spoken for.
gosh, I mean, we're not talking one, we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more, maybe 8. There's 2 power supplies per M10, so...
Yeah, there's one control unit and 2
and one
power
control,
supplies.
yep. Yep.
Again, we've got some M8s. You know the M8. There's one of our top flight preamps, the M8 line. Okay, we've got some M8 lines. M8 line signature. Some Quest Silvers. These are the 300Bs. And again, you can just see under the board there, they've got the KSI capacitors in, and they're here. Okay.
Oh, look at that, yeah.
The 1 watt tanks in these.
Look at that. How about down below here?
These are all gone. So these ones again, these are Quest Silvers, Quest Silvers,
Look
Quest
at them.
Silver signatures.
Look at that.
300Bs, monoblocks.
And again, viewers, this is not inventory. Wow.
No, this is all spoken for. This is
Gosh,
gone.
wow.
This is if we, ship it as quickly
As you can make it. I understand, okay. Wow, very impressive. Thank you, Andy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Come over to the far end of the factory, and what do we have here? This is like bare chassis, I think you were saying?
Yeah, so what we've got here, this
yeah.
is some of the goods in inventory. So again, we get the chassis, a number of different chassis that we try and use the same platform because we do have so many different models. But we share sort of like the chassis 9 trays, the compact chassis, and we just keep those coming in on a rolling delivery. So each month we just get more and more chassis delivered. So you can see this is our holding station for the chassis.
Oh gosh, look at this. And over here, viewers.
And some more down here and some more over this side.
Yeah, this is in anticipation of orders coming in. Oh my goodness, another row.
Yeah, so all these chassis are already allocated. They will be allocated.
Oh,
to
they're
orders.
allocated,
Yeah,
I
this
see,
will be this
okay.
is already sold. So we'll wait
Oh,
for
so
the
they're
next
sold
batch
too,
to come
okay.
in, and it
Oh,
moves
my
down.
goodness.
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
indexes down to the next batch of delivery and order.
Wow. Very impressive. Well, that, folks, are the chassis view of What Do You Know. Thank you very much, Andy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. This is the newest machine to the Audio Note factory. Tell us about this. This is huge. What does this machine do? And this has something to do with impregnating transformers, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we have a plan to make our own mains transformers
Okay.
in-house because we have a design of mains transformers that is far more efficient than conventional designs. So we thought we'd invest in a vacuum pressure impregnation machine. There's only 2 of these machines in the UK. There's a couple of smaller ones, but this is the biggest one in the whole of the country.
My goodness.
And they're made in Spain.
Okay.
And the delivery times are rather long. It's somewhere in the region of 8-9 months. So we thought, well, we'll order it, pay the deposit, and then we'll start hiring some people for the transformer department because we haven't got enough people there to make the mains transformers. Lo and behold, the machine turns up 9 months later, and we thought we'd find 4, maybe 5 people for the transformer department. We found 1. So I've now got this wonderful machine sitting here doing very, very little indeed. I mean, it's like a lot of other things we do, is we take a very long view. And unless you take a long view, you can't make investment. I mean, I think the biggest problem with modern business is that the management generally takes a very short view. And a very short view does not create products that have any longevity. Basically what they do is, it makes you focus on the wrong things.
Short term.
Short term, bottom line, stock price, and the longer term is basically pretty much ignored.
Well, this is an investment in the future for
Oh,
Audio
it
Note.
is. I mean, but at the moment when we get mains transformers in from subcontractors, of which we have a couple, we vacuum pressure impregnate them in this machine.
And then what happens, viewers,
Well,
is the top of the
basically
machine
this
lifts,
opens
opens up, and
This
then you
opens
have
up.
a basket.
You will
basket.
haul the basket down because, I mean, the transformers are very, very
They're
heavy.
very heavy, so you have an
So,
overhead crane.
They weigh 150 kilograms. So we have a very strong basket that basically lowers them down to the right point here.
Yep, very on the crane.
Close the
Yep.
lid, and then the operator will start the process. Depending on the size of the transformer, the time that you pull the vacuum out and put the pressure back in is different. And it took us a little while to work out exactly how long it takes to do it properly. But what it does is it makes the transformers completely impervious to environment. It also reduces vibration and noise from the transformer, which is very important in an audio circuit, apart from the fact it's irritating to sit there and listen to a bloody transformer that makes a lot of noise.
I have heard that in some audio components. Transformers
I mean, some of ours have. Well, I mean, we do our best to keep it down, but you know, if you have bad mains, for example, it's quite easy to get noise. So here you are, the wonderful machine sitting there. The big thing over there is the compressor that basically feeds the pressure.
Wow. Look at the size of the compressor.
And then you got my brand new machine for putting tires on my cars.
Which takes us to another subject. So, Peter, you do enjoy cars. So, I do too. And I've adopted the brand, my new brand, and I've always been a car aficionado, and I've had BMWs and Porsches, but I've adopted Mercedes-Benz, and I understand that you're a Mercedes-Benz expert.
I mean,
so let's talk.
I wouldn't expert is probably an excessive description. I mean, I'm fairly knowledgeable as I am about a lot of things, but it's. I think when you look at the engineering of cars, it really peaked around 1995, I would say. There are very, very few cars made after 98 that, in my opinion, are even remotely reasonably engineered. And it doesn't matter what you look at. You can look at a Porsche, you can look at a Mercedes, you can look at a BMW. I think mechanically they're badly engineered. And what's happening is that they're basically swapping cheap electronics for expensive mechanical things.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if I could just add to that, I think that in audio, what you've done with Audio Note is the same thing, is that years and years ago we had a classic time for audio equipment. We had transformers that were properly made. You can give us a little bit more in-depth about the Mercedes and how that parallels with what you do with Audio Note. Here we go.
I like things that are properly made. And when I say properly, I mean without too much of an eye on cost. And I think Mercedes, up to sometime in the early 90s, Mercedes was probably the best example of that in a major manufacturing industry. We're here excluding anything to do with defense or military. I'm a pacifist. I think that anybody that knows what the numbers of Mercedes are, the W126, W124, and W140 were probably the finest examples of automotive engineering in the history of the motor car.
Was that the 300 3.6? Was that one of them?
The 3.6 is an AMG model. I have a couple of those. In fact, I think I have 3. I have several of the W126s. I have 5 or 6.
Let's take a look at some of them here.
There's one there. That's a 5.6 litre supercharged Koenig Special 560 SEC.
That's an exceptional vehicle.
This is one of the most fun cars to drive. I had that on the motorway in Germany, and we were touching, in fact my daughter was driving it, and we were touching 300 kilometers an hour, which well, it's legal in Germany. You'd be scalped here if you did that. I mean, how many cars, or how many, modern cars, there are modern cars that'll do 300 plus. But when you think that this car is nearly 30 years old, you think, well, how much progress have we actually made?
Yeah.
If you do a bit of jiggery-pokery to the electronics of that engine, you can probably get it up, and you'd have to change the gearing because it's too low geared. But you could probably get it up to do 320, 330, quite easily. And, how many cars are... And the other question, of course, is, where can you do that kind of speed, apart from the motorways in Germany?
That's the real question, yeah.
And, I drive in Germany quite a lot, as we will be doing tomorrow and Wednesday. it's difficult to have these speeds. So why the car industry is focusing so much on absurdly high top speeds is completely beyond me. They should be focusing on completely different things. But of course, cars are now a fashion accessory and a vanity project. And these cars were not. These cars were built for transportation and having fun. I don't think modern cars are any fun to drive.
Well,
They've got too many driver aids. The seats are a big crap.
well, here we are, and this is like this is the equal to Jay Leno's garage for Mercedes-Benz, the Peter Quattro garage from Mercedes-Benz. And Peter and Mark, Peter's mechanic, what would you say is the rarest Mercedes in the collection?
Probably the one you're looking at.
I'd definitely say
As
that.
far as we're aware, there's only one of them. Koenig only has one registered, which was both done by AMG and by Koenig at the time. And this is a very early car as well. It's a 1990, which is quite right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what you call an R129, which is basically a W124 with a shortened chassis.
Very short.
It does look
And the
awful
6
short.
litre
Without a
V8.
doubt.
So you just said that there was another one, and it
Oh,
doesn't
but
just be as someone
apparently there was-
killed themselves with it.
Yeah, there was very few made, but looking back on the history of them, everybody that actually had one is now deceased. So we've actually nicknamed it the Black Widowmaker.
I love it.
It's called. So there's hope for the competition, yes.
Yes, there is. Well, thank you very much, Peter. What a great show of a wonderful Mercedes collection. Just outstanding. Thank you. Oh, you're here at the store. Hey, there's Peter Quattro. Peter, how are you?
I'm pretty good. All the better for seeing you.
Well, thank you. It's great to see you again. Peter, this is the home of Audio Note. This where we're standing was the beginning of Audio Note.
Well, it was the beginning of my audio career, whether it was as a result of that.
As a result of that,
Also, the beginning of audio innovations and audio notes.
what year did you take this lease?
I signed the lease on the 16th of February 1979.
Really, coming here is standing in history. And then over the years, you have leased space adjacent to this original space here and grown out the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, viewers, this is one of 10 audio shops in Copenhagen, Denmark. And Anders told me that it's just a little bit smaller than the largest shop.
Yeah.
And every other shop is much smaller than this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And this shop is specializes, of course, in audio note equipment and music and the emotional attachment to music itself.
Yeah.
And wait till you see what Anders is going to show us. It's going to blow your mind. Okay, viewers, let's meet the proprietor of Audio Consult, Anders van Espensen. Anders, how are you today?
Fine, fine.
This store is just, as I just told Peter, this is audio heaven. There's a seating area, which we're going to see in just a moment, viewers, where you can look at vintage hi-fi magazines. We have Wire World dating back to 1918. Bottles of wine on the wall for you to have a beverage and read and show me the shop and show me the listening rooms, please.
Yes. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Here we go. This is part of 1/3 of Peter Quattro's record collection resides here at Audio Consult. Here's a part of it. And then the magazines, and this is what we just mentioned. Please bring us in. If you could offer us a Danish or two, since we are in Denmark. So please show us about this room here. So this is where people can come and enjoy themselves and have a chat and meet.
Discuss.
Discuss
Yeah,
equipment.
the hi-fi and the music.
Mm-hmm.
And have a coffee or something else, if they like.
I think the wonder of it is it's the magazines, and as we mentioned, Wireless World, excuse me. My goodness gracious, this one's from 1948.
You learn a lot by reading.
Yes, you do. This is the days of audio journalism was very different back in the 1940s. And it was very much how the components actually worked. So here's the rest of the magazines. And let's move on to some of the listening rooms. Here we go. Okay, Anderson, what do we have in this room?
Some more audio stuff. Showing some very nice amplifiers. The Gin Rose.
Yeah, we saw these from the street as we came up and knocked on the door.
CDC 6. One of the best transports.
Yeah, viewers, this transport is unique in that it's an umbilical cord over to the power supply, and the power supply is a tube power supply.
Yeah.
It's the only CD transport with its own separate tube power supply, which makes it the most unique CD transport in the world, and together with the level 5 DAC and its own power supply, the fifth element and the fifth force make, to me, the best digital playback system for Redbook in existence today. And the Redbook that from these machines, it's just as enjoyable and harmonically enveloping as vinyl, in my opinion. So what else do we have?
Integrated amps from Audinote and integrated CDs to show. And then we have a little mock-up from a Lingo.
Okay.
People are very fond of Lingo at the moment. And we have, of course, the Danish tone arm Mørk DP6.
We have here a prototype loudspeaker.
Yes, a new Danish one. Maybe it will come.
We'll see if that comes to market. I hope so for the designers.
We already have a friend from US who was interested in buying them.
Hey, very good.
So they could be exported to US.
Okay, how about that? Well, over here we have a listening station for personal listening devices. What's your favorite personal listening device that we're looking at up here on the wall? Which one do you like the best?
One of the Hi-Fi Mans.
Oh, the Hi-Fi Man. Okay. Yeah.
At the moment.
Okay. Okay. Well, then you've heard it from an expert. Hi-Fi Man gets the vote here at Audio Consult. Why, good. Well, let's see another room, please.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, and then downstairs. Look at this. Oh my gosh. The look and the smell of music, and look at the stairs we come down. Oh my. So watch your step coming down. Come down with me and enter more of audio heaven. Beautiful. It's just beautiful down here. Okay, what do we have here?
Audinote signature speakers, E model.
Okay.
Separate crossovers again. Audinote make very different speakers in every model, K, J, or E.
All with the same
different levels of quality.
Yes.
Yeah, and then some signature models too.
When you move up the audio node food chain, you're getting just a little bit more refinement every step of the way. Oh, look at this over here. Oh, what a great listening space this is.
Here we have preamplifiers and power amplifiers.
Oh, beautiful. And folks, again, we're very close to the center of Copenhagen, Denmark. Well, let's take a closer look. Okay, and which amplifiers are these again?
This is Quest Silver.
Okay.
Yes.
Gorgeous. I think we saw some of these we're going to see at the actual factory in Brighton, or near Brighton, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you have the M5 phono stage, the DAC 3, CDT 2 and 1 and 0. Again, we have a turntable deluxe. This one is a TT1, one motor. Arm 1 and the I/O
Eller IQ3
Okay.
mm.
Okay, moving magnet.
Yes.
Okay, let's come around to the second room. On the lower level here. Another little slice of audio heaven.
Yeah, we have some Sonos Fable speakers, clear audio turntable, and then audio note integrated amps to listen to.
Beautiful, beautiful equipment. This is the Sorrow Line stage.
Yes.
What's below it?
And then we have the phono,
Okay,
push-pull,
okay.
and a phono single-handed. So people can choose
So people
what
can
they
choose
like.
between the two.
What they prefer.
I love the artwork. It's all original art.
Yeah.
And I'll circle the camera around so you can get a feel for the room. Yes, we have a very Danish feel about this room. Oh, I love that painting. What is the system here?
This is our audio note system, level 5.
Okay.
We have, of course, the Ongaco, integrated amp, very beautiful.
It is very beautiful.
Yeah. And then we have the M9 preamplifier with phono stage. We have a DAC 5 and a CDT 5. TT2 deluxe turntable, 2 motors. And we are using an ARM 3 and an IO Gold.
Yeah, I just removed the IO Gold from my system, and we have an IO Limited that we're just put into place. Yeah.
Very nice.
It is very nice.
And then we have the transformers, ANS9.
Yes, I have that
All silver,
transformer
of
as well.
course.
Now the IO Gold, it puts out 0.04 millivolt, and that is impossibly low. Most cartridges, moving coil cartridges, put out 0.5, 0.4, 0.3 is pretty much the low point, but 0.04, it just is unheard of.
Yes,
It
we
is.
know. But it gives the speed in the music.
It does.
Yeah.
It sure does, because it has less windings. Less windings equals
Exactly.
more music.
Yes. And a type of the Audio Note E speaker with separate crossovers. All
Yes.
silver and Alnico magnets.
That's a similar model to mine. I have an ANE SEC.
Yes.
This one is a similar model with the outboard crossover
Yeah,
too.
signature model. Yes.
Yeah, the signature model. Well, before we move on to the next room, let's play a little music and let the viewers listen, if we could, please. thank you very much. It's a beautiful sound in this room. You really do know how to set up an audio system.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go into another room, please. Now, Anders, I understand once you buy a component, or if you haven't bought a component here, you do repair components as well.
Yes, of course.
So let me show us where you work. I love to look at the workbench of
Have a little
technicians.
repair and upgrade stuff if people like that. It's
So
our
we
little
have a
working station.
scope and a signal generator and soldering iron, and this is a nice workstation here, and a very good light to
And we
show
have
your work.
some tubes.
And if your tube fails, we have a nice stock here. And you have access to the whole audio node tube
Yes, of course.
inventory
Yes,
based in England. So that the tubes can be overnighted up here for a client who's desperate to get his music system back up and running.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, good. Thank you very much for such a wonderful, wonderful tour of Audio Consult. And I'd love to shake your hand. I think you must be, and maybe, the most lucky man in the world.
Probably.
Thank you, Anders from Audio Consult. What system do we have here today?
Well, starting with the turntable, this is the TT3 prototype, the final prototype, with its power supply down there, and an ANS9 transformer. The turntable has the IO1, which is the basic record cartridge, and the ARM3, which is a fairly basic ARM, and M9 preamp with its power supply.
Right here, viewers, and here's the power supply down here.
Yeah. And the CD is a CDT6 that's running into the R2R ladder prototype number 3. We are currently at number 6 or number 7, I've lost count. With the ladder, resistor ladder there.
When do you think this will come to market?
I keep promising people that we'll do something with it, and then we discover something new.
No, that makes it sound better. Yeah.
And then it's, we should investigate this as well before we do anything. So yeah, what can you say? Well, anyway, the power amps are the GACU ones. On these ones, I'm basically in the process of testing the sound of the valves we're using in the production valves we're using. So this has got, it would normally have new old stock 211s in it, but this has the standard per van 211s in it. And via some Sogon speaker cable into a pair of the A&E Sogon speakers, which I got yesterday. So they're a bit stiff sounding at the moment. But
Yeah, they're just breaking in, viewers.
They softened up quite a lot overnight.
So what's the difference between the Sogon and the
And the ones
SEC
you've
signatures
got, the
that we
SEC
have in
well,
our
basically
system?
the SEC signature uses copper caps in the crossover. This uses silver caps.
That's it. Okay.
And the cost of the silver caps is just prohibitive. So it more than doubles the cost of the speaker.
I love it. Capacitors that double the price. I just,
Double? More than double.
More
More
than
like
double. I
triple.
love it. Well, let's get a scope for where we are here. We're in Brighton, England. We're in a gorgeous street. This is a wonderful listening room. As we pan around, there's Terry. Peter's taking a seat.
Thank you, Peter.
And Andy, head of
We
sales.
are in the theory.
And some
And a bit of reading material here, please, for the viewers. We have
Absolutely.
records everywhere. Peter, how many records do you have scattered across here? Just
Well, in here,
Yeah.
in here we've only got about
Yeah.
14 or 16,000. I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure.
yeah.
I mean, that's about half of my proper collection. So you have a read of that. That refers to what I was talking about yesterday.
Well, let's do what we like to do, viewers. After we have a system walkthrough, we do some listening, And what better than pure cello? So what we're going to do is we're going to pick the needle up and start it over, turn the volume up a little bit, and we're going to put you in the listening chair. Here we go.
To the civilized world.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Peter Kocher from Audio Note, for what a spectacular session. It was just to die for. Thank you.
You're welcome.